I do think it's influenced me because sometimes, if I'm thinking about a new project or thinking about doing something and I feel maybe a little bit afraid, I think, well, I have William Wallace blood in my veins, so maybe I can try, and it maybe doesn't make any difference, but yeah, I think it makes a difference. And also I enjoy telling the story of William Wallace to my students or to friends, and once in a while, for example, in Tsinghua, I gave a speech and I wore my kilt, my traditional Scottish clothes with the sword and the coat and everything. And I even rode the motorcycle, which was dangerous. And I think I showed Shinju my underwear when I was driving it, but I wore my traditional kilt on the motorbike to do the speech. So it does influence my life a little bit in that I feel I remember Wallace and his background, and also I dress sometimes in the traditional clothing and also tell the story. I've traveled now to 65 countries. 65 countries. I just added a new one recently. And I collect them. I enjoy seeing new people, new places. And my grandfather also traveled. He traveled to 143 before he died. He was a missionary in Africa. So I think when I was young and I was living in Africa with my grandfather, he was always telling me about the travel, and I always thought, Wallaces must travel. So I had this idea from a young age that I had to travel and also get as many countries as I could. And Grandpa, of course, inspired me very much. He lived more of his life outside of America than in America. He was outside of America for over 40 years, traveling. I mean, he was a missionary in Singapore, Vietnam. He started a university in Rwanda. And so I always looked up to him and admired him. And so I think that's a little bit why I traveled also. I'm a teacher in Taiwan. I like it. I stay in Taiwan because Taiwanese people are so nice. They're just wonderful. I've traveled 64 countries, so I can say confidently, Taiwanese are the nicest people in the world. Really, of the people I've met. Your average Taiwanese person, so nice. Just wonderful. So kind, 很热情. So I think that's why I stay. My students are great. They like to learn, or at least they pretend they like to learn. And so I enjoy teaching them. As a teacher, I teach over 20 hours every week here in Zhongyang and in Jiaoda, and next semester, Tsinghua. So it keeps me busy. It keeps me very busy. I have my Taiwan ID card right now. Very few people have the permanent ID card. I have my ID card, so I can buy a house. So I own a house now after I got the ID, and I'm very proud of my ID card. Yeah. Pearl milk tea, the Jeonju Naicha.
Yes.
I love it so much. I probably love it too much, because as you can see, I'm heavier than 9 years ago, and that's because those little Jeonju,
Yes.
they have a lot of fat inside.
Right.
And so I drink it all the time, and I think it's slowly catching up, but I don't care. It's too delicious. So I keep drinking it. And this is one reason I stay in Taiwan and cannot leave. You can't find Jeonju Naicha anywhere else, only Taiwan. Special Taiwanese innovation. 很特别. So I keep staying. That's a big reason. Taipei was too big, too many people. Mountain people see, I think is what you say. I got on the train, came through Taoyuan, still too big, Zhongli, too small, Hsinchu, just perfect. So I got off the train and I got a motorcycle and I started riding around, which is very dangerous. Motorcycles in Taiwan, not safe. You can die young, die fast if you're not careful with the motorcycles. I drove around and I got lost in Jubei, countryside, far away, got lost. I was driving my motorbike. It was probably like after midnight. It was very late. I had been driving for hours. It was the winter time in Taiwan. Winter time is very cold in Taiwan, which I did not believe before. We always think Taiwan is like Hawaii every day, and that's not true. It was cold. Wind was blowing. My hands were blue. You know, I was shaking. And I was stopped at a stoplight in the middle of the rice in Jubei. I don't even know where. Jubei is like the end of the world, you know. It's just huge areas, nothing. I was stopped, blowing wind, and I was looking at the light, waiting for it to change. And a little guy came beside me on his motorcycle. He had the gold chains, open shirt, chewing the betel nut, spitting. He looked at me, I looked at him, he looked at the light, I looked at the light. I looked at him, he looked at me, we looked at the light. Light is still red. And just as the light is changing, you know, turns yellow over here, so I know soon it's time to go. He took off both of his gloves and he threw them to me and then tripped off. And I caught the gloves and I couldn't catch him to tell him thank you. He was too fast for me, you know, between the car. I couldn't catch him. So I put them on and I just remember thinking, only in Taiwan, you know, wonderful people in Taiwan, just wonderful. He doesn't even know how to talk to me, but he wanted me to feel warmer on that night. And inside his gloves were all red from the betel nut, you know. Actually, my hands smelled like the betel nut for like a week, but still, nice guy. Taiwanese, best people in the world, best people, really nice. The average person in Taiwan will try to help you. It helps if you speak a little Chinese in Taiwan, you know. When I first got to Taiwan, I was looking at a map of Taiwan and I saw Hsinchu and Hualien. And I thought, oh, that's very close. I think I can drive my motorcycle there before lunchtime. So I got on my motorcycle and my brother was visiting me, my younger brother. We drove together from Hsinchu 16 hours to Hualien. 16 hours. Over the top of the mountains into so cold. Oh, so far. But how did we get there? Every time we didn't know where to go, we would stop and I would say, Hualien, Zainali, and they would say. And so I kept driving. And then when I came back, Hsinchu, Zainali. Kept driving, 16 hours. Taiwanese, so nice, you know, so nice. They'll help you. In the last 9 months, I have presented 64 times. I have been speaking all the time for different universities from top to bottom. They will invite me to talk about the technical writing for Taiwanese researchers because they're trying to publish the paper. So I'm very familiar with Taiwan now. I travel a lot on the train and that's my main job. The number one reason that Taiwanese papers are rejected is because of poor English. I did a lot of research about this. I collected the reviewers' letters, editors' letters from the journal. And so many good research papers are rejected only because of poor English. And it's a tragedy. So I have developed a lot of material that I present about how to publish and about the Taiwanese writing error that caused rejection in international journals. I find that students in Taiwan are very smart but very shy. So they know a lot of answers, but they are afraid to tell you. And I think that that's just, I don't know why, maybe from the culture, maybe from the background, but they don't promote themselves so much. They're more shy. And if one person will promote himself, sometimes the other students will look at him, you know. It's kind of, they're not as expressive. They're very sweet. They have a great heart. And actually, when you make them talk, they're very creative too. Like when I get them into the groups in my class, we have a lot of projects, group projects. They are so funny, so clever. I'm always laughing and I always think, wow, what an amazing idea. very creative, but they don't have the confidence maybe to show the creativity. I think that's the key point. They always kind of keep it on the inside, which I think is a pity. What a pity, because they're wonderful people, very creative, they're just shy. The problem is not that they don't know English, they don't know the interesting English. They have to connect it to something that's interesting, something that they already enjoy. English computer games, English sports, English magazines, something that they like. They're missing the interesting English. They're missing the strong connection between English and their daily life. If they can make the connection between English and the daily life, everything is okay. They will learn very quickly. I will go to the science park and I'll teach a class until 9. I will leave the company and everybody's still sitting at the computer working hard. I don't think that they are efficient. They are just trying to look good, you know. And the pity is that sometimes I talk to the science park engineers and they didn't see their kids for like 2 weeks. Or in the last month, they saw their kids 3 times. I think the quality of life is a problem. They're sweet, wonderful people, but just they work too long, you know, work too long, too many hours. I think that's a special thing in Taiwan, in the science park. Overworked engineers. And I teach the engineers in Jiaoda because I teach in engineering school. That's my school. So all of my students in the future will go to the science park. And I try to warn them in my class. I say, if the company tells you that you're working 7 days a week and you're never going home, just say no. Life is too short. Don't sell your soul. You know, I say this directly. The companies probably hate me, but I think I should warn them. And I've been here for 9 years. I've seen many, many tired engineers. They have wrinkles, gray hair. They look like they're 80, but they're 30. And so I know that it's not all happiness over there. I know that many of them sacrifice their life, and I don't think that's necessary. We are buying a new business building, a whole building for our office building.